Perspective. A particular attitude towards or way of regarding something. Angle, point of view, mindset, frame of reference. Perspectives tend to vary in accordance with where one happens to be sitting or standing. Time and experience affect perspectives as well. What began in 2008 as a simple effort to rescue 21 orphans from the streets of Honduras and place them in a ramshackle structure with faulty wiring, an outdoor kitchen, and almost no functional plumbing has become so very much more. It has become a community, a city if you will, a city of refuge. This is Adriana in 2008. She was 13 when she was rescued from the streets of Honduras. Now she's in medical school. Isabella and Naomi were like two little cotton balls in 2008. Now they're more like fireballs and insist on being called Carmen and Guadalupe. Alex was just 5 when he first arrived after his father tried to set him on fire. Alex is a born leader. Unfortunately, at the moment, he's also 15. This is Tanya. She was shy in 2008 and she's still shy now. Tanya's big brother Juan is of a similar disposition. In fact, ambush proved to be the only viable tool for getting a shot of him for this video. These are just a few of the many IMI success stories. But not everything is roses. Henry was 11 in 2008. He had a different perspective and left the abject safety of the orphanage for what he thought were greener pastures. He was subsequently stabbed to death on the very streets from which IMI tried to save him. While the possibilities for a child's long-term success at the City of Refuge are limitless, the failure rate for children to leave is at least 80%. We think this is unacceptable. But as it turns out, IMI's impact is actually broader and more far-reaching than even we realized. La Bestia, sometimes called the Death Train, is the illegal immigration express upon which tens of thousands of South and Central Americans have risked life and limb in hopes of finding a better future for themselves and their children in America. We've heard a lot about gangs and gang violence as consequences of illegal immigration. What many do not realize is that South and Central American boys are always targets for gang recruitment. In fact, they risk the lives of their families and loved ones if they refuse to join. It should be no surprise that so many of them make a run for our border. As it turns out, there are several people here at the City of Refuge with first-hand experience on La Bestia. Gustavo and his brothers ride 45 minutes on their bicycles to and from the City of Refuge each day. Gustavo rode La Bestia for 27 days after Hurricane Katrina in order to help rebuild New Orleans. He was living in Mississippi for 4 years until, as he describes it, he was deported by President Obama. Now he has a job with IMI building a City of Refuge here in Honduras. Gustavo and his brothers are concrete artisans, and they did most of the work on this awesome new art and music room complex. Jorge is employed by IMI as a tío, which loosely translated means uncle. He's actually part of the Honduran IMI therapeutic team that provides 24-hour direct supervision, tutoring, and behavioral support for the boys in their dorm. Jorge is a La Bestia survivor as well. The cousin he rode with was not. He was beheaded by narcos in Mexico. This is Josue. He's a little bit hyper and loves hugs. He lives at the City of Refuge because his mother was killed while attempting to immigrate to the U.S. These young victims of Mexican sex trafficking fared even worse. Please understand, this is not hyperbole, and I'm not trying to freak people out. What I'm attempting to do is to lend some perspective to what IMI is actually doing. As Christians, we need to understand that there's more at stake in terms of immigration than the American way of life. We're fighting for the lives and the futures of innocent children. All we are asking is for the means and opportunity to save more. Meet Daniel and his younger brother Carlo. They are brand new additions to the IMI family, and like most street kids, they have certain dysfunctional street habits and lots of new skills to learn. Even so, I'm particularly grateful to Carlo for applying some of his street skills to model the infirmary and the IMI medical staff in action. No Impact Update would be complete without some news about the farm. Luther, our agricultural genius, is always looking for ways to repurpose and conserve resources while also increasing the overall output of the farm. The orphanage depends on Luther and his crew for nearly all of its food. This new organic greenhouse is just one of Luther's latest projects. He uses recycled junk from the farm to keep it going, and cow, chicken manure, and fish waste to fertilize organic Honduran staples like tomatoes, radishes, beets, onions, cilantro, and cucumbers. The idea, as Luther puts it, is to conserve expensive diesel fuel and water by pumping water from the well to the fish tanks, to the irrigation drip lines in the greenhouse, and then the excess water is siphoned off to water high-protein cow grass in the pasture below. Milk cows need to eat 10 to 20% of their body weight in grass each day. Right now, the cow population is almost growing faster than Luther can feed them. We have the land, but as usual in the third world, the issue at hand is finding water and the energy to pump it. I realize that many of the people watching this video grow corn, but bear with me. We're from Hawaii, not the Midwest. And while you'd probably be excited by our boring old palm trees, turquoise water, and pristine beaches, we just happen to be fascinated by all that goes into producing corn and culminates in hot tortillas on the grill. The kitchen is as amazing as ever, especially with Caesar, our new cook. Actually, chef would be a more appropriate term since he makes some pretty amazing meals for the children and staff. Speaking of staff, we have some new professionals on board to ensure that IMI maintains government compliance and the children receive appropriate care in terms of counseling and individual therapy. Monday mornings at the City of Refuge begin with a staff meeting, where City of Refuge business, individual child needs, behavior issues, and possible solutions are discussed in detail. As always, education remains paramount at the City of Refuge. In fact, everyone from the youngest child to the oldest gringo missionary is in a near constant state of teaching and or learning, be it in a traditional school setting, hands-on IT training with Tony in the computer lab, or father and son mentoring in the welding and carpentry shops. There are after-school music lessons, video editing and production classes, weight training classes, English classes for Hondurans, and Spanish classes for gringo missionaries. Yes, we've come a long way since 2008. But let me ask you a question. Has your own perspective changed? After all, there's a reason why God led you to sit here in the seat where you're sitting now, and it's not just for you to receive a word about you. If you're Christian, you're called to do more than simply seek an encounter with God for yourself. There's much more to this walk than going to church and seeking prosperity for you and your own. If you're a Christian, you're called to bear the burdens of others, to love your neighbor as yourself, to give to the poor, to support widows and orphans in their distress, and to be a proverbial sheep instead of a goat. Can you hear the call? Maybe you're just waiting to get all your ducks in a row before you go or you give. But the truth is, ducks almost never line up, and there will always be an excuse for those who want one. Maybe you're wondering if this is the right place, the right person, the right time. Maybe God wants me to act somewhere else and in some other way, you say. Maybe. Maybe God does have another direction for you. Yet the fact remains that you're sitting here now. There's a principle I learned from a goalie coach a long time ago that applies to this now. When you see the ball coming towards you, jump. Why? Because it's a lot easier to change direction when you're already moving. There will always be those who attack and distract, but stay focused on the call, then just get the ball. Will you?